Tomorrow morning, Mr. Rhodes, my sergeant is going to be checking with the telephone exchange. Maybe you made a mistake about the call.
Henry called me at 3 o'clock.
What did he call you about? Oh, yes, business, wasn't it?
That's right.
But I thought you'd concluded your business the night before when Henry agreed to pay the second half of the loan. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So what was there still to discuss? Had he changed his mind? Or was there something else he wanted to talk about?
Why should I kill him? I was a bloody drunk and he took care of me. I'd lost everything, my wife and child.
Something else you couldn't understand, I gather.
What?
Why they were out at that time of night.
I didn't know then and I don't know now. It was just another road accident.
I want you to get me a road accident report. June 1989, 2 fatalities, Henrietta and Paul Rhodes.
I'll get on to archives. Be on your desk first thing, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Marriott.
Mr. Stone.
I hear your organisation's just coming to a bundle, Doctor. Could you say anything about that?
Not my organisation, Mr. Stone. We're just a group of individuals who share a common belief.
But this dosh, Doctor, you'll use it to spread your ideas. Couldn't you use it to help the sick? Shouldn't you be saving a life, Doctor?
When I can, yeah.
Oh, well, you can. That's good. I like it. Can I quote you on that, Doctor? It's either that or I make something up, only I doubt I can match your subtlety.
Well, then you must quote me.
End of interview.
Here it is. Fault reported 10 a.m. Repaired at 5 p.m. Time to repair, 5 minutes.
And it was definitely out all day.
Well, it needn't have been, though.
What do you mean?
Well, the time of repair was at the customer's request. Who did you say made the call? A nurse?
That's right. Mr. Fallon was in a wheelchair.
Well, she must have been a pretty dumb nurse. Disabled get priority. We could have had someone around there right away.
There was a reporter at the surgery this morning. He was asking questions about the will.
It was bound to arouse some curiosity.
I suppose so.
Now that everything's been taken care of, there's no need for me to stay here any longer. I haven't managed to get to the flat. I was wondering if you could see to things for me.
Susan.
I shall leave tomorrow, I think.
Morse?
It's Susan. I wondered if I could see you tonight.
Of course. What would you like to do? Dinner?
I thought we could meet at your place.
If you like.
Yes, I know where that is. I'll see you this evening. Goodbye.
Well, it was Mr. Fallon's request, Sergeant, not mine. I was for having it repaired at once. I mean, there was Mrs. Fallon in London to be considered. She used to call 2 and 3 times a day when she was away to make sure everything was all right. I said I could call her when I went out for the shopping, but he said no. She'd be working and wasn't to be disturbed. All I could think was they'd had a row or something.
A row?
Oh, I'm not saying they had, Sergeant, no. I just thought it odd. But as it turned out, I was worrying for nothing.
How come?
It was improper of me, I know, but I did call her, as a matter of fact. She wasn't even at home. It was her answering machine that came on. You get so embarrassed talking to those things, don't you think?
Yes, you do. Well, thank you.
Are you sure you won't have some tea?
No, thanks. I'm just on my way home. Thanks for your help.
Yes. Come in.
Thank you. The telephone repair people have confirmed that the phone was off all day, sir. And it was Fallon himself requested the engineer come at 5.
Then why the hell does Rhodes go on with his claim?
There's something else, sir.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. If I'd known you were having company, I could have let this wait.
Oh, that's all right, Lewis. Mrs. Fallon's coming over. You said there was something else?
No, I'm afraid it's gone for the moment.
Have a drink till it comes back.
Nah, I think I'd better be getting home, sir.
You sure?
Yeah, I'll see you in the morning.
All right.
I like the flat.
Thank you.
I've heard it said that every house is a precise commentary on its owner. Do you think that's true?
Well, it's an interesting theory, I suppose. I've never thought about it. I can't imagine what this place has to say about me.
Oh, a sturdy self-sufficiency, a certain contentment.
Well, then I'd have to say the theory is somewhat suspect.
You're probably right.
Well, no, might be something in it. Anyway, I'm glad you like it. I'm not sure you'll be able to say the same about the food. I still think we should have gone out. It's not too late. I can call...
No, I wanted us to meet here. My house... Well, it's not appropriate at all, you see. It's too full of other memories. I must sound awful saying these things, I know, but it's been so long and I'm so horribly out of touch. I feel like some silly schoolgirl.
I've asked you here because I want some straight answers. Are you absolutely sure Henry Fallon was murdered, Morse? Morse?
I'm sorry.
Have you read this?
I've not, as a matter of fact. I was late leaving home.
It's about Fallon's will. There are two beneficiaries, his brother-in-law and this man Marriott's euthanasia group.
Well, there was nothing for Mrs. Fallon, sir.
Is that relevant to this investigation, Sergeant?
Well, I'm sorry, matey, but I think it is. We have a man who seems to have been obsessed with taking his own life. We have a coroner's inquest returning a verdict of suicide, and we are building a case for a murder charge. On the evidence of a man who scores 125,000 in the will.
Not him, his organisation.
Well, do we know that? I mean, what exactly is the man's connection with it?
Well, we know he's a spokesman for it, sir. But according to the local papers, it's all above board.
Well, I just want to be sure, Morse. We're going to trial on this, remember that.
What the hell is wrong with the man?
He said, sir, he just wants to be sure.
Well, that's what we all want, isn't it? Matey? Lewis?
Sir?
What's the name of that journalist friend of yours on the local paper?
Stone, sir. His card's on my desk.
Am I to take it you think Rhodes is innocent, Sergeant?
I think there's a good chance, sir.
And that what, Mrs. Fallon killed her husband?
No, she couldn't have, sir. He called her just after 5. She couldn't have made it from London to Oxford in time to kill him.
Well, why this request, then?
They're supposed to be such a devoted couple, sir. But that doesn't stand up, does it? He cut her out of his will. On the day he died, he refused to have the phone repaired early, when the chances were she'd be trying to contact him.
Well, I'm bound to say they're hardly the actions of a loving husband.
Well, maybe he had good reason, sir. I mean, why did she lie about being at the London flat for the whole day? When the nurse called, she wasn't at home. And what's the most common reason for married people lying about their whereabouts, sir?
Well, you think she may have a fancy man or something?
Why not? She hasn't been slow to get reacquainted with Chief Inspector Morse, has she, sir?
No. Go ahead.
The doctors gave Fallon another year. If she was seeing someone, maybe he got impatient. He probably visited the flat at some time. There could be a photograph there, or letters, maybe a name and address.
What about Morse?
He's never going to see it, sir. He's too close. You heard what he said when I asked about the will.
Well, he'll have to know eventually.
Only if I'm right, sir.
You're due for a day's leave, aren't you, Sergeant? Oh, get me London, would you please?
I've already told you, Sergeant, what I know. I need to establish Marriott's exact relationship with the euthanasia group.
He's a spokesman.
Does he benefit personally from the bequest?
Well, put it this way. I wouldn't go checking the flights to Marbella. No, we're dealing with a man of principle. Yeah, but let me know if there's anything I missed.
Peter Rhodes is going to prison, Mrs. Marriott.
I've told you, Chief Inspector. He's innocent.
You must think us very stupid, Mrs. Marriott.
What do you mean?
You love Peter Rhodes, don't you?
Yes.
And you expect us to believe you have it in your power to clear him, but you choose not to. What kind of a woman would that make you, Mrs. Marriott?
A selfish one, Chief Inspector.
Do you think I don't know that? But apparently, self-knowledge isn't the first step to becoming a better person. Because while I want to help Peter, God knows I do, I haven't quite got the guts.
For what? What are you afraid of?
Shame. Just that.
Shame? No, no. No, that won't do, Mrs. Marriott. Not from you.
You can believe what you like, Chief Inspector.
I believe Peter Rhodes is guilty.
No.
I don't think you know anything.
You're wrong.
We've got the right man. He just happens to be someone you care for. Isn't that it? But true to character, you're prepared to set your need for him above the demands of justice. That's what this is all about, isn't it? He's as guilty as hell, and you don't give a damn.
No.
Goodbye, Mrs. Marriott.
He's innocent.
Shame, Mrs. Marriott. You? I know about you. You betrayed your husband because you couldn't have first call on his time.
Yes.
The action of a greedy, grasping woman. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Is that why you come here, Mrs. Marriott? For some sort of tawdry absolution?
You have no right to ridicule me.
But absolution for what? Adultery? Stealing another woman's husband?
We loved each other.
Stealing an innocent child's father? Is that your great
stop it,
shame,
please.
Mrs. Marriott? Or is it the truth about the accident that killed them? Is that what you're ashamed of, Mrs. Marriott?
What?
Remember, the 5th of November. That was no childhood accident, was it, Mrs. Marriott?
Peter loved me. He said he'd leave his wife and child for me. He kept putting it off. One night we were at his cottage. We'd both been drinking. Pete had had rather a lot. He'd passed out. The phone rang and I answered it. It was Henrietta. I was about to hang up, but I didn't. I told her that he was mine. That if she didn't believe me, she should come and see. She brought the child. She'd been alone with him, you see. I laughed at her. I actually laughed. She went berserk. Started throwing things around. Peter didn't know what was happening. He wouldn't let them go home alone. But he was too drunk to drive, so she drove. I followed them in my car. I didn't want to let him go. All the time I kept thinking, he's mine. Why should she have him? He's mine. They were driving too fast. He wanted her to stop to talk about it. He tried to force her. The car started to swerve. Something happened. Everything was so quiet. Then I saw Peter. All I could think was that he was all right. Henrietta and the child were still inside the car. It started to burn. I tried to get them out, but the flames were too hot. I started to run back to my car to get a rug or something. There was an explosion. Peter started screaming. Over and over and over. Since that night, he's never spoken to me. He couldn't harm the Fallons, Chief Inspector. He'd already hurt them more than he could bear.